Welcome back. This is our 12th show in a series of shows entitled Rehabilitation Coming Soon, where we have been discussing the mass incarceration practices of the United States, and in particular, the effect of those practices on the state of Hawaii. I am Aaron Wills, a William S. Richardson Law School graduate and a consultant for retired Judge Mike Towns' private mediation practice. Over the past 11 weeks, we have heard from people in the community who are willing to discuss the criminal justice system and see the problem of mass incarceration from different perspectives throughout the legal community. Today, we'd like to hear the perspective from the founder and executive director of KOKA Aina Family Learning Centers. Our guest today is Momi Akana. Momi is the founder and executive director of KOKA Aina Family Learning Centers. Initially opened in 1996 with 30 Keiki and their parents, the program has grown to serve over 2,000 Keiki and parents at over 40 community sites on Oahu and Maui. Momi was the speaker at the Native Hawaiian Education Conference in 2002, organized the first home instruction for parents of preschool youngsters, known as HIPPY, conference in Hawaii in 2003, expanded program services to the neighbor islands and the Women's Correctional Center in 2004, and received the Hawaii's Outstanding Parent-Friendly Business Award in 2005. The Extreme Maker of a Home Edition chose Momi in 2007 as a recipient of a new residence and community center. Her agency received the prestigious Losos National Award for Excellence in 2006 by the Parents as Teachers National Center. Momi is an advocate for family-based education programs. She is a certified PAT, Parents as Teachers, and HIPPY, Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters Program Supervisor. She has been a project director for 6 DOE Native Hawaiian Education Act grants and several community-based and state grants. She is currently serving on the Task Force for Children of Incarcerated Parents, the LU group, excuse me if I mispronounced that, and the FINE group of the Early Childhood Administrators. Momi has 2 sons and 2 daughters who continually remind her of the pleasures and challenges of parenting, and her experiences add depth, perspective, and delight to her understanding of Keiki rearing. Welcome, Momi.
Thank you, Aaron.
Well, first, I just want to get to know, you and your family learning centers a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about those learning centers?
Mm-hmm. So, KOKA Aina is a Native Hawaiian Christian organization. We serve people statewide. We have about 14 different programs, everything from early childhood, family strengthening, perpetuating culture, and we do a lot of work in the prisons and for children of incarcerated parents.
Oh, wow, okay. So, in regards to children of incarcerated parents, we're going to spend most of our time talking about that today. So, on our past show discussions, in previous shows, we've discussed children of incarcerated parents. Can you tell us about the task force you're on and how that deals with children of incarcerated parents?
Absolutely. So we were blessed 3 years ago to get a grant from the Kellogg Foundation. And part of that grant was to continue some really important work that we were doing. And that was to bring together people statewide every year to talk about the issues that surround children whose parents are incarcerated. And there are thousands, almost 6,000 children statewide. It's hard to nail that number down.
Right.
And being able to talk about what's best practices, how to serve them. There are so many people who are unknowing providers of services to children whose parents are incarcerated because there's so much stigma attached to it that a lot of times you just don't talk about it. So it's a big secret, and we want to kind of bring it out of the closet because these children should not need to hide or pay for anything that's happened that was not their fault.
Right. And so we're talking about, in the rough ranges, about 6,000 children of incarcerated parents currently.
That is a very loose and informal number because, like I said, there's a lot of hiding. On any given day, this is what will happen. A parent will be arrested,
okay,
maybe in front of their child. You'll know that if they were arrested on that day for years, months before, they've been doing illegal activities. This is just the first time they got caught. That child has been a witness to things for years or at least months for sure.
Okay.
So they get taken away, and then they come to the point where, do you have any children? And this parent is probably smart enough to know that if they're going to go away for more than 2 years, there's a good chance they could lose custody of their child. So they're not going to tell. They're not going to say, or they may not say. They may just say, when they can make a phone call, Auntie, go take my kid, or Grandma, Grandpa, you got to take them. And they don't have to tell that they have a child.
So, okay, I mean, because I'm a little unfamiliar with some of the details here. So if you're incarcerated for less than 2 years, then the state won't try to take custody. So if you're 18 months, you know, you get an incarceration for 18 months.
It's not so much the state, someone else can come. You know,
Oh.
whoever's watching your children, then they're going to say, wow, we've had them for a couple years. Sometimes parents don't want to give up parental rights for exactly that reason. And so they don't give it up. And now this caregiver, whoever it is who's taking care of the child, is going to have a hard time getting all the benefits that you could get to help support them. So they
Right.
might go to try to take
Get
that
full
over.
custody.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, now, in your experience, does that happen a lot?
It happens enough that when I've been in prison talking to the women, I ask them, so who has your children? And these people are almost strangers to them for some of them.
Oh,
For
man.
some of them, they'd rather hide their child with someone they barely knew before they went in than to admit that they have a child.
Now, let's talk about cost a little bit. Do you roughly know, like, let's just say for a woman who's incarcerated, she has one child and the child becomes a ward of the state. How much does the state have to spend a year to care for that child? And is it age dependent? Because I would imagine that if the baby is really young, if it's an 11-month-old baby, that the cost would be a lot more to take care of than if the child was maybe 5 or 6.
So because of a lot of the programs we have, we actually have access to some of that information. For instance, KOKA Aina does a tuition assistance program, and we actually have people in our program who are caretakers of children whose parents are incarcerated. So one small little portion of that infant toddler care, just that one piece, can be up to $1,200 a month just for that. And then you have food, you have Medicaid or Quest, you have whatever the financial, the monetary piece that they're going to get in addition. I mean, it literally is a few $1,000s a month. Over the course of a year, you're knocking on several tens of thousands of dollars. But for some parents or caregivers, they don't have access to that money. And they are just running to try to, aunties, uncles, grandmas, grandpas, they are the heroes in these cases because they're willing to do this, and they don't always have access to all the resources that they should or could have access to. So they end up just, these are children who definitely need health care, who definitely probably need mental health care.
Right.
And getting them to those appointments, I mean, just the physical, taking them to those appointments, making time during a caregiver's busy schedule where they might be taking care of their own children, now they have to take care of someone else's children. A lot of times they fall through the cracks and they don't get everything that they really need.
Especially with, I mean, if you're talking like the money part, so I'm just assuming that they're probably coming out of pocket for a lot of the expenses and then trying to chase down the reimbursements, and the reimbursements aren't always there for them.
Luckily, we do have a lot of really good organizations that you can call and get hooked up with. That's one of the things we're trying to work out with at KOKA Aina, is to actually find the different programs that support children whose parents are incarcerated. That's really part of what the big annual statewide conference is.
Wow, okay, so I was, it might be just a logical answer here, but I was wondering, is it more challenging to deal with someone who's going to be incarcerated for a longer period of time or a short period of time? Because a longer period of time, I would think, they're going to send them away, we're going to have to make this person a ward of the state or get them long-term care so that the decisions you can plan a little bit longer out. And short term is kind of like, we just don't know what's going to happen, so we just have to leave this person in limbo for a while. Do you have any?
Well, of course, we want short term
Right.
all the time. We always want short term. Because with that, we can do the other kinds of programs that are done in some prisons, which are bringing the children in for visits, keeping them connected with the parents. There's nothing better to stop recidivism than to have a strong connection to your children. If you have that desire that I'm not going to do this again, I might have messed up, but I'm not going to do it again, that's one of the best pulls you can have to get out there. But we make them earn it. We make them have to go through early childhood classes, or they have to earn the right to be able to participate in these programs. And by actually putting in the effort, they become a better parent. They become a better communicator. In the prisons, we have those kinds of programs. We also have healthy relationship programs that we're doing both in the federal prison and the state prisons. So with the healthy relationship programs, you're learning how to address conflict and good communication with anybody, hoping you'll make better choices when you get out.
Well, I know that right now we have about 1,600 of our prisoners in Arizona and Saguaro. So this is kind of a two-part question. First, I wanted to know if you're working with any children right now whose parent might be in Saguaro. And if you are, is it more difficult to maintain what you were just saying, that contact with them because of the distance that they, of where their mom or dad or their dad might be?
We actually have a mentoring program for children whose parents are incarcerated. And because the majority of people are not here, we absolutely do work with them. I mean, physically, there's nothing you can do. We don't have travel for budget to send them over or anything. All we really can do is support them and the caregivers while they're here. The caregivers are the people who need a lot of support too. They need respite. They need ideas about free things they can do in the community. They need to meet up with other people and find out what best practices is. And for the children, being able to hang out with a lot of children whose parents are also incarcerated helps to take away that stigma. It's like, wow, I'm not the only one. Wow, look at all these other people. There's a lot of really good programs that help with that, like Camp Agape.
Yeah, actually, I was just going to bring that up. I've been out there. I've had my son out there one time. We spent the weekend. Judge Town is a regular out there, so of course he dragged me along. I had no idea what it was about. And then he introduced me to Pastor Roy and told me the story. And then, of course, I've heard the story now about 4 or 5 times. And it's just amazing because I believe Pastor Roy's heart's in the right place. I've seen the change that goes on out there. The kids come in hardened. They don't really want to talk too much. And they, it's kind of weird. It's really shy at the beginning. As the days go on and it's a 4 or 5 day camp, by the time Monday comes around, these kids are in tears and they don't want to leave. They've never received this much love. They don't understand what's happening and they desire it. I mean, they don't want to leave it once they've had a little bit of it. So I see the changes going on out there. And you can see that, these kids, it's a special population. It's one that's been neglected and that they really need the help. So I'm really glad that there's camps like Camp Agape going on. So if you ever wanted to support an organization or a camp out there that's, doing really good work, Camp Agape is the group to do it with. On that note, I just wanted to, bring up, do you have any success stories of any, either children of incarcerated parents you're currently working with, or maybe parents who've gotten out who, kind of have built that bridge again with the kids that they left behind when they first went in?
Okay, so this is my favorite success story, and Jackie knows I talk about her all the time. So it was literally several years of us going in and helping to bring her child in, and they would meet up every single week. So we had a visiting inside the prison in a beautiful preschool classroom setting. They could roll around on the ground. There were no guards there. She earned the right to be in that program through her good actions inside. And keeping that strong connection made her more determined than anything else that she would be going home. And she came out and she never, ever looked back. She is one of those who's allowed to come back in and serve other women in the prison. She's been a great, strong advocate for other women, and I'm super proud of her. She's got a great job now. She's a good mom.
How many kids did she have?
She has 2 kids now.
And were they both out when she was incarcerated? While she was incarcerated?
She had 1 child before she went in.
Okay.
And then she's had 1 since she's.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, we'll be right back with Momi Akana. My name is Aaron Wills, and this is Rehabilitation Coming Soon. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Marianne Sasaki. Welcome to Hello, I'm Marianne Sasaki. Welcome to Think Tech Hawaii, where some of the most interesting conversations in Honolulu go on. I have a show on Wednesdays from 1 to 2 called Life in the Law, where we discuss legal issues, politics, governmental topics, and a whole host of issues. I hope you'll join me.
Hi, I'm Ethan Allen, host of Likeable Science on Think Tech Hawaii. I hope you'll join me each Friday afternoon as we explore the amazing world of science. We bring on interesting guests, scientists from all walks of life, from all walks of science, to talk about the work they do, why they do it, and moreover, why it's interesting to you, what the science really means to your life, its impacts on you, how it's shaping the world around you, and why you should care about it. I do hope you'll join me every Friday at 2 p.m. for Likeable Science.
Aloha, my name is Danelia, Danelia.
And I'm the other half of the duo, John Newman.
We are the co-hosts of Keys to Success, which is live on Think Tech live streaming network series weekly on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Aloha.
Aloha.
Welcome back. I'm Aaron Wills. This is Rehabilitation Coming Soon, and we are sitting here with our guest, Momi Akana. Okay, Momi, we're talking about children of incarcerated parents, and I wanted to jump to kind of, the issues that the children actually deal with on a day-to-day basis. So let's talk about children of incarcerated parents. What kind of issues are these children dealing with at school?
Okay, so like you said, number one, the biggest thing is school. How do I deal with my friends? And we're talking about children from kindergarten all the way up to high school. So there's a lot of things going on in the background. So you may have the most well-meaning caregiver at home, and they're like, we don't want it to be hard on you. Don't tell anybody, mom or dad or whoever it is in prison. Don't tell anybody. So all of a sudden, this poor child is like, oh, I can't tell anybody. I can't actually be good friends with anybody. I've got a secret that I have to hide from everybody. It creates, number one, you're telling stories now about why your mom or dad is not able to come to whatever event that they have at school that everybody else's parents are going to.
Right.
You have a second or third grader who's being told, okay, we're making our cards we just had Father's Day, for Father's Day or Mother's Day, and this child is like, oh my gosh, I have nobody to give it to. Or invite your mom over, we're gonna have a little baking day with mom. Teachers have to know that these children are everywhere in our schools, and you may be an unknowing teacher of one of these children, and you have to build it into your program already. So you're never really saying, we're doing this for Father's Day, but we can also do it for grandpas and uncles. You have to give them their exit door right there.
Okay.
You have to make it easy, because otherwise, can you imagine the stress on this 8-year-old child who's going home thinking, I can't invite my dad. I'm not supposed to tell anybody.
Right.
The stress on these children.
Right.
So just really knowing that anytime you're doing something, if there's a Christmas party and you're saying invite your parents, you're also saying invite your grandparents, your aunties, your uncles. It doesn't have to ever just be a parent. Teachers have to know that these children are with us, and we need to take the stress off them right from the very top.
Now, as far as you've seen, have you noticed that younger children can deal with this a little bit easier than children in their teenage years and the young teenage years, or is it vice versa, or they both equally suffer through it?
There's going to be problems at all ages. I remember there was this one girl, I think she was 8 years old, and I'd been coming into the classroom for almost 2 years, and we were finally in the 3rd grade. And when no one was looking, she heard me say something. I was talking to my son. I said, I'll be going into the prison this weekend. And she came up and she whispered in my ear, my mom is in prison. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I've known you for 2 years, and I never thought about saying something in front of you folks so that you would know I was a safe person to talk to. That is another thing that DOE teachers can do. Let the classroom know. Talk about it all the time. There is no stigma to having a parent who's in prison. Talk about it like it's a matter-of-fact thing. And some of us have parents who might be in prison, but they're coming home soon. You take that stigma away, you address it, you say it, you make yourself a safe person, and then that student will be able to talk to you. They'll know you're not going to judge them because you've already said it to them.
Now, this is a scenario that was just kind of popped in my head. Have you ever had to deal with the fact that some of these parents may have had an article in the paper that says, hey, look, mom and dad did all these horrible things, and it's right there in black and white for all the adults to read. The kids go to school, or maybe the kids are old enough to read it and know that it's out there. Have you had to deal with that? Is that harder to deal with when it's public? It's
really hard when it's very public. A lot of the arrests that are made are super quiet. Nobody knows about them.
Right.
It could be for possession or whatever it is. A lot of stuff happens really quietly. The high profile cases are just really devastating. Those are the instances where we really would want to get a good, strong mentor for that child, and we have a Mentoring Children of Incarcerated Parents program.
Right. Well, and I just wanted to kind of ask you, as as you know, children of incarcerated parents, the actual rate for them to actually be incarcerated themselves is really high, right? I mean, there's lots of contributors to this, but what do you think the number one thing that leads to this is?
Okay, so let me just say it this way.
Okay.
The statistics say that 70% of the children of incarcerated parents are going to follow their parents
Right.
back into the criminal justice system
Right.
without intervention. So be the intervention. Be the person. Be that one person who's going to stand up and say, hey, let's go do something. Let's go to the beach. That's why I'm saying mentoring,
Right.
just being there for that child. Like you said, a lot of them just need someone. They have an absent parent and a big hole in their heart.
Yep.
Take them anywhere. Take them to the beach. Take them to church. Pick them up at school. Help them do their homework. Help the caregivers who really need respite and some time off.
You know, and on that point, if people out there don't think that, you know, children actually need mentors, I can tell you as an adult, in my adult life, I need a mentor. And Judge Town has been my mentor for the last 7 years, and if it wasn't for him, I probably would have fell through the cracks too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's at all stages of life that we need this, and especially in the younger stages of life, our parents are supposed to step up and be mentors, and when parents aren't there, other people have to really step up and be those mentors for these young children. What programs are out there other than yours for these kids in the community?
Camp Agape, like you said,
Right.
they can get hooked up for the big camp, but then throughout the year, they also have different kinds of things. I would say any kind of mentoring program, whether it's Big Brothers, Big Sisters,
Yeah.
or just any of the mentoring programs that are out there. The big thing about working with these children is we all know children whose parents are incarcerated or who've been affected by incarceration. And so every single one of us, we have the ability and we have the reason to do it. These are our kids. They're our kids. And we need to start talking about it. We need to start making it okay. It wasn't their fault. I'm just going to say it. It's really sad that, you know, KOKA Aina has a giving program. And sometimes we get donors who don't want to support children whose parents are incarcerated. And I feel really sad for that kind of thinking. It wasn't their fault. But I mean, I understand some people are victims of serious crimes, and so they have that feeling. But those children need our help and our love and anything we can do.
No, I think it's worse off that people kind of, you know, they don't look into this very deeply, is when a parent is convicted of, let's say, a horrible crime or selling drugs, they've actually surrounded their children with this lifestyle. And they've infected their children with this criminal thinking. And once they're, you know, taken out of the situations, the children then are just left there to kind of survive on what's left over from what the parents did. And you really need mentoring. You need careful counseling to get them back on track so that they don't fall down that same path. And so I think a lot of people just, you know, say, you know, I don't want to support them. Well, like you were saying, it's not their fault. They had nothing to do with why their parents are in jail. But the fact is, everything that their parents did are going to affect them detrimentally throughout their entire life. So I think people need to just, you know, look at that a little bit deeper. What kind of issues does the family have to deal with when the parent is finally released from prison?
That's another huge one.
Okay.
So we have a new grant that's going to be working with young fathers, even from 14 years old up to about 26 years old. So we start working with them before they're released, and we get them ready, we get them job ready. They start on their parenting classes. If they have not had a lot of contact with the children prior to their last 6 months in, we start to bring the children in. But the new grant that we have is really going to help with everything in reintegration, from job readiness, finding work, housing, parenting, financial literacy, all the things that they're going to need to have in place, and then referrals to any kind of substance abuse classes that they need to maintain.
And what was the name of that grant?
It is Mentoring Young Fathers, a Second Chance.
Oh, awesome. Now, if we kind of break this down, and we know that, you know, when a parent who's been, let's say, convicted of a felony gets out of prison, in terms of employment, they have a really difficult time of getting a job. And I throw out the numbers. This is completely arbitrary. I make it up, but it probably is really realistic. I would say out of 9 out of 10 applications that they fill out where they have to check the box, yes, I've been convicted of a felony, the employer just throws it right in the trash. Hey, do you agree with that?
I'm going to tell you that you would be very happy to know that a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of employers, good employers, big employers, are willing to give them a chance.
Oh, well, good.
Yes, it's not as dismal as you might think.
Okay.
And then it's all on them. Those employers are not, they're going to watch real closely
Right.
and see how this person does.
And we know employment is about building skills, you know, and so and you were talking to me before about you have some people who you're still building skills with. Now, are your jobs that you hire, are they just for short term, or are they until someone's ready to go? How does it work at where you
So at Keiki, Aina, we hire lots of people who are transitioning back out of prison. And, we always think they're going to stay as long as they need to, and it's been a couple years now. Our employment is not short term. When we hire somebody, we hire them, and then it's up to them when they're ready to go. I think they like it a lot, though.
Yeah. Well, it's, that's the other thing about work. A lot of people, they go to school for a long time and then they go to end up at their job and they're miserable. So finding a place that you can enjoy waking up every day, enjoy the people that you work with, it's a gem. So I'm sure if they found a place that they like to work at, they're probably going to stay forever.
There
maybe.
are some good jobs out there that these people transitioning out, men and women, are getting in. I mean, high-paying jobs, so it's hard to fight that. The difference between going out and being in a really great, for me, I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. High-paying jobs is sometimes the support that they need is not there.
Right.
So
The
sometimes it's
expectation is
nice
higher, right?
the expectation is high, it's a little high stress, and they're really interested in performance. Whereas if you come into somewhere that's a little bit more nurturing for a short period of time, at least you'll get those supports.
Well, okay, in closing, what's the most important thing we can address right now that will have an immediate positive impact of children of incarcerated parents?
Talk about it. Talk about it. If you're a teacher in a school, talk about it every single day. Mention something until that one student in your class comes and talks to you about it.
Awesome, and we want to try to remove the stigmatism around, the children of incarcerated parents are no different than the other children in school, just have parents who made bad choices. But life isn't over and everything can, you can get better. Things can heal. So thank you very much, Momi, for taking time out of your schedule to come with us.
Thank you very much.
So join us next week for another show of rehabilitation coming soon as we continue our discussion of the criminal justice system and the effects of mass incarceration on the state of Hawaii. And coming up next is Sustainable Hawaii with Kirsten Turner. Thank you.